Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to your morning Nexus report. I'm Bill Whittle. It's been a full day since the events in Las Vegas, and we still don't have much information. We know that this guy apparently, at least at one point in his life, had significant amount of money, $3 million. They say he would go gambling and bet really high on stakes. People are speculating as to whether or not this man might have killed 60 people, or God knows what the total is going to be, because he got really down on video poker. And that got me thinking. I mean, needless to say, anybody who does something like this is insane. I think that's a pretty solid definition of insanity, is the ability to go out and kill people. But that got me thinking about what is the size of this dartboard? In other words, we always count the hits, and it's appropriate to count the hits. We record the number of times that people are shot in these mass shootings, and it's a catastrophe, and it's horrible. And by the way, this means no disrespect to anybody who suffered either from this or other handgun crimes. It's hard to find perspective in a world without sounding like you're defending these things on some level. God knows I'm not doing that. But I wanted to know, well, if we're counting the hits, how many misses are there? And it's interesting. Many of you know, because we have a pretty highly educated membership, there's a term in manufacturing called Six Sigma. And Six Sigma is a form of manufacturing excellence. A sigma is a standard deviation from the bell curve of the norm. So one standard deviation, one more to the right, to the right, to the right. When you go out to six on both ends, but if you go to the sixth sigma on the end of a quality, how well is this thing made? You find that when you are out 6 sigmas out, you're in such a narrow little part of that bell curve that it's very, very small. As a matter of fact, the definition of 6 sigma, at least as I understand it, was products that are come out as expected, functional 99.99966% of the time, or in other words, that is a failure of 3.4 units per million. So just as a measure of the health of the country, which is always under attack after a shooting like this, what's wrong with America? We're violent, addicted, we're insane, we're nuts. I wanted to take a look at what does that mean in a larger perspective. So what is America's failure rate? We're studying now, we're just simply studying a failure where people go out and commit mass shootings. That is a defective human being. And so if we look at it that way, what percentage of American people are defective enough so that they could commit a horrific act like this? In other words, let me rephrase it more succinctly. What would America look like if our people were produced to 6 Sigma standards, where there was one failure, one mass shooting insanity for every 99.99966 people? Well, as I said, that failure rate, just looking at the math here, is 3.4 defects per million. With a population of 320 million, that's 1,068 people. It's not 1,068 people who think about mass murder. It's not 1,068 people who prepare for mass murder. It's 1,068 people in a population of 320 million would be committing mass shootings. If that's the failure we're looking at, that's the number we get to. Because it occurred to me that everybody talks about, oh, these weapons are so prevalent and we've got to get rid of them. First of all, we're not going to get rid of them. There are too many of them, even if we wanted to get rid of them. But I think just as a matter of perspective, we are doing much better as a people than 6 Sigma. Our society, in terms of gun shootings, these kind of mass shootings, is well beyond the best possible manufacturing standards that can be attained in the world. And I say this not to excuse the events of Las Vegas or to minimize them in any way. I simply say it to point out to those people who say that this country is a sick, twisted place filled with a bunch of sick, twisted murderers. You see these horrific events as you see in Las Vegas, and you're appalled and disgusted, and you start asking yourself questions. But again, we count the hits. We never count the misses. And it may sound like a simplistic or a callous or even a ridiculous thing to say, but it's important that we get an actual picture of what's going on. When we say that, well beyond fewer than 99.99966, way smaller number than that, percentage of people in America actually commit crimes like this. As I said, before, perspective is not explanation, it's not excuse, but perspective is perspective, and sometimes perspective is needed, especially at times like this. That's your Morning Nexus report for all of you wonderful members out at BillWhittle.com. Thank you very much for your membership. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.